Hello there. Today we're gonna be working on a 2003 Nissan Murano. We're gonna be replacing the spark plugs on it. Here we have a list of some of the tools I'll be using for this job. You can use any other tools available to you, but these are the ones I'm using. Before you start working on anything on your car, make sure you disconnect your negative terminal or your battery. This particular vehicle had a VO300 code set in the memory. So that's why we are going to be replacing the spark plugs along with ignition coils. The air filter has two clips you have to take off. Also, take off your master flow sensor. Undo this clamp and take off the hose. This was really tight on it. So you gotta pull up carefully. Now you can slide it off. Loosen the clamp and pull it off. Pull the connector off from your throttle body. There's a clip on the harness, so you can do the clip and then take off the harness, put it to the side. Also take this 10mm bolt off. There's a 12mm and a 10mm. And these two vacuum hoses you have to disconnect. Don't forget this vacuum hose behind your throttle body. Just pull it off and set it aside. Set everything aside just to make room for you to work on it. Using your 12mm socket, take this off. There's two nuts and three bolts. There's also two other 12mm bolts holding up your intake manifold behind it. I had already pre-loosened the bolts from the intake manifold, so I can only use one hand. It's kind of hard to work with one hand when you're holding the camera on the other hand. So be really careful not to drop anything and save them. So you don't want to have anything missing when you put it back together. So be really careful with it, guys. Now you're gonna need a 12mm wrench. I like to use this wrench that has like a ratchet on the back, so it's easier to work on, like in tight spaces. You're gonna have to reach through the back of it. There's a bracket holding the intake manifold, so take off those two bolts. Now that it's all loose, just pull it back. There's two vacuum hoses that you're gonna have to take off. Just be careful not to torn anything or break it. You don't really have to take the whole intake off the car. Just put it aside, make room for you to work on your spark plugs and coils. Those are the two vacuum hoses I was telling you about. Now that you have room, you can see that's the bracket I was telling you about. And those are your ignition coils. Each one of those has a 10mm bolt holding them. So just put everything aside so you can have more room and nothing gets in your way. Push the tab on your connectors and take off the connectors, and using your 10mm dip socket, loosen up the bolts and take them off. Here you can see how I'm taking off the connectors from the coils. Disregard my fingers on the top of the screen. I was just trying to do everything at once, holding the camera with one hand and working with one hand. With the engine manifold out of the way, you got a lot of room to work on it. It's really easy. This is a coil that came off the cylinder number 3. This was misfiring all over the place. You can see this is all white and smoky. Now I'm pulling off the spark plugs to replace them from some new ones. They kind of look old, so you can tell there's been a while they haven't replaced them. And that was cylinder number 5 spark plug, the one I just pulled off. Now I'm taking off the cylinder number 3. See how it comes out. That was the one with the coil misfiring. So, well, it doesn't look too different as the other one. They all look old. So now for the cylinder number 1, we got 1, 3, and 5 cylinders in the back. So, yep, kind of looks the same. This is what the owner brought. So he ordered a set of spark plugs, double platinum Bosch with coils, but we only got 3 because he replaced the other 3 in the front, but he couldn't get to the ones in the back, so that's why he brought it. Whoa, these spark plugs look longer. These are not the right spark plugs for this vehicle. So I wonder why was all the shaking and misfiring. Somebody else put some spark plugs that are not correct for this application. So I made a quick run to the auto parts store just to make sure I got the right spark plugs for this car. And it turns out I do. Well, it takes AGKs factory wise, but this is what the customer brought to me, so this will work. I like using this spark plug socket with a magnet on it. It makes the job a lot easier, and since I'm working with one hand, it makes it easier. Listen, this intake manifold gasket has to be replaced also. I know a lot of people don't like to replace them because they don't want to spend that extra $25, but it will save you a lot of problems in the future if you replace them. Plus, you're already there, just go ahead and buy a new one, just throw it in there. This way you'll be on the safe side, so you won't have any vacuum leaks or anything like that. Make sure to put some dielectric rays to protect your boot and plug from moisture and prevent corrosion. And it also helps conduct electricity better, so it doesn't hurt just to put a little bit on there. Also, when you're doing all of this, make sure you don't drop anything inside your intake um inlets, because if you do, you're gonna be in a lot of trouble if you don't find out and don't take everything you drop in there off or out of there. If you want, you can just tape it, use some tape, duct tape or something like that, masking tape, just to cover the holes, or some rags. As you can see, I already put the new coils in there. I'm just making sure all the connectors are sitting properly and they're clicking in and not coming off. So now you just put your 10mm bolts back in there. Also, just be careful not to over tighten them, as they're really small bolts, so if you're putting a lot of pressure to it, you can over tighten them and break them or do something to them, and you're gonna be doing that extra work you don't want to do, so just be careful. I'd rather use my right hand to do this, as I don't want to break them or strip them. Now I'm replacing this old gasket for the new one. I went to O'Reilly's and got me this Velcro gasket set. It comes with a platinum gasket and two other gaskets for this throttle body and this other part. Since we didn't took those apart, we're not going to replace those gaskets. We are only going to replace the ones we're taking off. With the new gasket in place, just set your intake manifold back in place and start putting your bolts and nuts. Just do a few threads on them. I like to leave them loose because we have the bracket in the back I was telling you about earlier, and I like to set everything first and then tighten everything at once. You gotta reach through the back and start installing those bolts for the bracket that holds the intake manifold. Be careful not to drop anything, as you're gonna have a hard time trying to look for them. Since I'm not using any power tools, I like to hang tight everything first. That'll make it a little bit faster. I always try to start from the middle and work my way out. Another thing I like to do is I go over them one more time just to make sure I did every one of them and didn't miss anything. Also, don't forget this coolant hose and its clamp. This is underneath your throttle body. This great connector you see in front of you, this is for your throttle body. Don't forget to reconnect that and make sure it doesn't come off. Also the clip for the harness and this vacuum line behind it, the throttle body. Now reinstall this vacuum solenoid and its blue connector using a 10mm bolt. We just need a few more things to put in and that'll be all. Okay, be careful not to over tight this, is like I said, there are small bolts and they scrape easily. Now reinstall this canister and this other solenoid and use your 10mm socket, tighten it up. And remember the two little vacuum lines on the left of it. Reattach those. And this is a 12mm for this canister. Now you can reinstall your air filter box. And make sure it's all the way in there. Make sure those go in there. Redo the clips on the side. Reconnect your master flow sensor with its harness clip. And also this hose that goes to your valve cover. And reattach your clamp. Don't forget to tighten this clamp. Now reconnect your negative terminal on your battery. Locate your Omni connector underneath your dash on the driver's side and connect your scan tool. We're gonna read the memory codes. First of all, you turn on the key and put in your car's info. We got a 2003 Nissan Murano with a 3.5 liter. We select OK, codes menu. And there we got it. A PO300 random cylinder misfire. So we go ahead and clear that code. The codes are erased successfully. I like to read it again just to make sure everything went off. There you go, nothing back. Now I turn off the scanner and I'm gonna try it on for the first time. Running smooth. Thanks a lot for watching. This is Jam. Like and subscribe.